Hi, everyone. I am Julie Roth Novack. I'm the CEO and co-founder of PartySlate. I'm really excited to have our special guest today, Guerdy from Guerdy Design. You are an amazing event planner extraordinaire in New York and Miami and all over the world. And today I also have Pamela Rothbard, who is our editor. She does all our incredible newsletters and articles and content marketing. And she is the one that is putting out all of the incredible content on PartySlate's Best Of section. So Pamela, thank you for being here with us today too.
I mean, I just say backed by an awesome marketing
Backed by an amazing team.
Yeah.
You're pretty awesome.
Yeah, you guys make me look good. So when everyone's like, oh, I love PartySlate, I love the content, I'm like, okay, the team is amazing and you guys are incredible. So Guerdy, I'm so excited to have you here today. We're going to be talking about a really important topic about branding, but specifically inclusive branding. And it's something that we take very seriously, and especially with the Black Lives Matter movement, we've even upped our game and really want to hold ourselves accountable for being an inclusive brand of all ethnicities, backgrounds, religions, and everything, to make sure that we're really being that amazing brand that represents everybody. And so today, what we're going to do, I'm going to share my screen really quickly. But before we get started, Guerdy, I'd love to just give a quick overview of how you got into events and a little bit about your business, because your events are stunning. Every time you post a new event on PartySlate, everyone's like freaking out. So tell us a little bit about your background.
Thank you. So my background is actually from Fisher Island. I started my career in catering, working on Fisher, which is located in Miami. So it's a really small island. Yes. About 1% of the wealthiest people pretty much have a third, fourth, fifth home there. And I got lucky, and I was able to be put in a position where I started off with really good clientele with really, really good budgets. So I maximized that effort and you know, my creative process as a person. And I was able to really come through to facilitate that for them. So becoming a liaison in a sense. And then from there, there was an opportunity to buy the flower studio on the island. And though I had never in a million years ever thought I would actually, you know, touch a flower or be involved in that realm, I was able to actually make an investment, you know, decision, and I purchased the flower studio on the island. So hired the most amazing floral designers to back up the vision that I had in my head, and here came, you know, Ocean Flowers and Events. So, you know, fast forward a few years later, we decided to get back on land because we were getting a lot of requests to go off-site. So it was better to be on land, and then it evolved into where I am today. Now, there is an evolution happening right now where I'm no longer doing the florals just because we're doing so much more of the destination weddings. So I'd rather stay in the front of the house than the production side. And so we are currently rebranding. So stay tuned for that.
Okay, good. And we're going to talk a little bit about that. So I'm interested to hear kind of the change of being kind of a standalone event planner to owning the floral studio and then moving back to these really stunning destination events. So amazing. So I'm going to share my screen and I'm going to go through the agenda with everyone. And we're going to make this kind of like a talk show. So we're going to be interviewing Guerdy throughout the entire presentation on her brand, and also providing some valuable content on how you can build a really strong, inclusive brand. So I'm going to go through the agenda. You can see my screen, everyone, right? Okay, good. So just for context setting, again, I have 20 plus, I only say 20 because it makes me seem old, but 20 plus years of digital branding experience working with some of the biggest brands in the world before I started PartySlate. And I know everyone knows this, but I just want to put it out there as context setting that, you know, a brand is not a logo. It's not just your visual identity. It's not a product. You know, a brand is really defined as a person's perception or gut feeling about your product or about your company or organization. And so a brand is made up of many things, and it's a living, breathing kind of vehicle, and it's a really important part of your business strategy. So I know some people talk about creating a new logo and a new website. That is part of branding, but that's just one element of your brand. And so what we're going to talk about today are really the many different areas that you need to think about. And again, I don't want to overwhelm you. Afterwards, we're going to provide you a sample guide and how you can put together a brand strategy. And again, we have so many branding experts in this industry. And so again, I really encourage you to ask questions, change your settings to all attendees and panelists so everyone can see your questions. And please feel free to shout out and say hello in the chat. We're happy that you're with us. And so today we're going to talk about how to create a brand strategy. We're going to have a very important discussion about inclusivity and what that means. We're going to talk about your personal brand. And again, your personal brand is different. It can be very linked to your company brand, especially if you're a small business, but there is a difference. So my personal brand as Julie Novack is different than the PartySlate brand, although it's very connected because I'm probably an oversharer on social media. And then we're going to talk about your digital brand, which I'm very, you guys know, week after week, I love talking about digital branding. And then we're going to put together a very simple 4-step action plan that we're happy to help you with. So before we kick off and I turn it over to some questions to Guerdy, I would just really want to talk about what are the elements of a brand strategy. There's 5 areas. The first and the most important really is understanding your purpose. And I know many people who don't really understand this industry will say, like, aren't all parties the same? And aren't, like, I think they don't understand that these are like life's milestones and experiences that we're creating, whether it's a corporate party or a birthday party or a wedding. We really want to understand why you got into this business. What's your mission? Why do you do what you do? And your purpose for being. And I think that storytelling around your purpose is very compelling, and it's part of your brand story. And then you really want to have values, and it's not just a poster that goes on your wall about integrity and all these things, but you want people to know what you stand for, what your core values are, what you believe personally. And then your brand also has a personality. And so some brands are very sarcastic, some brands are very elegant, some brands are very professional. You really want to know how you want to be perceived, and there isn't a right or wrong. You just want to be consistent with your brand personality. And then of course there's positioning. So how are you different than your competitors? What clients do you want to appeal to? What are you really trying to do? And again, you'd be surprised that many people don't fully think through your differentiators. And your differentiators could be as simple as your story and your background and how you got into events. It could be how you do customer service, how you operate. So you really need to think about how you want to position your business. And then finally, it is an important element, your visual identity. But I'm amazed at how many people start at visual identity versus these other things that really tell the essence of your brand. And so we have at PartySlate a brand guide. Sometimes we call it the brand Bible. So like, what are the essence of the PartySlate brand? And again, I will send you a sample table of contents. And I'm not saying you need to have a 50-page brand guide. It could be a simple PowerPoint or a 2-page document that really, you write down your mission, your vision, your values, who are your target audience, your key messages, really some sort of style guide. So like, let's say you have an intern helping you, you have all of this in one place. And then also like how you appear on Instagram, Facebook, your emails, etc. So again, I don't want to overwhelm that you have to do this big project. It could be a 3 or 4-page document, and we will send you the table of contents. So just as an example, for PartySlate's mission, our mission is to help people plan these inspiring, memorable events that really make an impact. And I started PartySlate because I was doing all these nonprofit and corporate events, and I couldn't find any amazing websites. There was all these wedding blogs, but nothing for me. And I was looking for like, how do I raise the bar? And I'm doing a cancer research event, and it was so important to me, and I couldn't find what I was looking for. So that's a big part of our mission, is helping these people. And the biggest way we help people is by giving them, our vision is to be the leading event inspiration platform worldwide, got to aim big, helping people find new ideas and connecting them, very important, connecting them with leading event professionals who can bring their vision to life. The platform will provide the best way for event professionals and venues to share their work, build their brand, connect with their network, and grow their business. And again, I know that's a lot of words, but we take these words really seriously. And every time we launch a new feature on PartySlate, or we have a new marketing campaign, we make sure it's all tied back to our overall mission and vision for the company. So I can't emphasize enough. Sometimes people think it's kind of like, oh, do we have to go through this wordsmithing exercise? It's worth it to really, really know where you're going. So before I jump in, Pamela or Guerdy, any questions from the group that you want to ask, or I can jump right in? Okay.
Jump in.
Not yet.
Good. So Guerdy, we're going to talk about inclusivity. And I know you and I have had many of these conversations. there's not only is the time now to really pay extra attention, it should have been in all of our plans. Of course, we've always been thoughtful about this area, but not as direct as I'd like to see us. And so we've really made a commitment on what we're going to do. But you also have to look at, if you're looking at millennial, couples that you're trying to target, 70% of them are more likely to choose one brand or company over another when you demonstrate inclusion and diversity. A Deloitte study that was recently released shows that 80% of respondents said inclusion is an important for them when they're choosing an employer. So again, these are all things we know, but really how we define inclusive marketing is, communicating and connecting with an audience of a particular ethnicity, sexual orientation, culture, religion, ability, or many of these things. And so what we really think is important is not just to be like, oh, Instagram, check the box, I have to have, diverse images. It's actually really thinking about one of our core values is we value diversity. So it's in our core values since the day we started. And I think it's really important to think through your whole brand strategy and how you integrate inclusivity into that. And so to kick it off, Guerdy, I'd love for you to talk a little bit about, what inclusivity means to your company. I know we had a lot of fun talking about your team image, and even thinking through your contracts and what those look like. What are some areas that you've really focused on at your company?
Well, I mean, the first thing is, I think, most people now, especially the millennials, they look through with a lens. The first thing they see is going to be what they probably judge you by. So not just them, but everyone as a whole. First impressions does matter. Yes. And I think to project the optics that you believe in diversity as well as practicing it is what's important. So this picture that you just put up for my Instagram, I guess, is literally my team. And so we are global. I associate myself with anyone that believes in the same kind of work ethic that I do and creative process that I do. And it doesn't matter what creed, color, or whatever it is, so I feel like, putting that out there when a client vets me for a project, lets them know that you're going to have multiple, diverse, a group of diverse people who are going to give you a perspective on their event and make it better than it would be if it was just a one-note wonder, in a sense. So I think that, if you are someone who wants to try to project a new image for your company, especially with what's going on in the world today, I think it's really important that you have to give the optics first, and also really believe truly, because it will show. You have to be authentic with whatever you do and lead by that, because that's going to be your brand at the end of the day. Yeah,
absolutely. And when I love what you talked about your contract, you told me the story of making a mistake, which again, I've said to our team, we will make mistakes as we go through this journey. We launched a diversity, equity, and inclusion committee, and that's something I've been very involved with in my past careers. But you mentioned kind of a learning experience you had.
So it's funny because I did an interview last week with NBC, a local channel here, NBC6, about COVID and weddings. And I just kept saying, oh, my brides are so happy, my brides. After the interview was finished, I literally was like, oh my God, what made me say brides versus the couple? Because nowadays I service myself, I have amazing couples that are same-sex marriages. And, and I just felt so disappointed in myself because I knew better, but it was just the subconsciousness of just saying what I was taught just by, by the 18 years I've been doing this. And I thought of Jove Meyer, who's my really good friend, and what he taught me when he did the Love and Conversation, summit. And I was like, I texted him and I said, I'm so sorry. I just realized right now that I just kept saying bride, and I know better than this. And so it taught me a lesson to literally think before I speak. And also, in whichever way you're going to market yourself, just sit back for a second and say, who am I leaving out?
Yes.
And if you ask that question, it'll be easy to answer that,
Yeah, so I love you shared your contract with us, how you share kind of the same sex or represent different images within your contract, so that you're making sure that you're not even sending the message even before the contract is signed, that you're not working with all types of couples.
100%. If you pick up my contract, you'll get the verbiage on the left-hand side, and on the right-hand side is going to be a nice collage of different photos of the types of weddings I do. And I do include, of course, people of color. I include same-sex marriages, because that's who you're going to be working with, someone who's open-minded and who's willing to, put great product out there, but with whomever is a believer of love. You know what I mean? So yeah.
Absolutely. And I think that, like showing it within your team, that's really important, but showing it within your work and the type of clients you work with. And, you know, something that we've even thought about is when we do our launch parties, making sure we have a very diverse set of partners for our launch parties, our launch events. It's just something that's, you know, always been important, but now we're documenting it. We have a committee focused on it, and we have also publicly posted, which I'll share soon, what we're doing related to Black Lives Matter.
Can you see me, by the way?
Yes. Can you see us?
I can't see you guys. I'm fixing my screen. Keep going.
Okay. Okay. Well, we can see you.
Okay, good.
Okay, good. And you click back on Zoom, we'll get you back. And then right now we're just showing your beautiful Instagram. You have a huge following. You have a very diverse kind of look to your feed, which is amazing. And then also on your PartySlate profile, you have all different types of events. Not only do you have weddings, but you have bar mitzvahs, cocktail parties. For those of you who are new to PartySlate, you can create a free profile to get started, or you can, again, take advantage of our premium membership options where we manage your profile for you, do your SEO optimization. But Guerdy, your events are gorgeous. And what we love is you've really picked a wide selection of different types of events. And then, you know, unlike Instagram, again, we're obsessed with Instagram too, but on PartySlate, you can show your whole portfolio versus just your, you know, one or two photos from the event.
I'm still updating. I mean, it's a process, obviously, because it takes time to obviously make sure that you put as much work as possible. But you know, it's something that is important, I think, so that you can show your whole scope of possibilities and services. You know.
Okay, I'm just gonna have to brag a little bit about your page. So I'm sharing your page right now, and I just wanted to mention we just launched multiple cover photos. So now, again, showing diversity on small events, large events. For our premium members, you can do up to 5. For the free profile, you can do 1. You have been featured in so many publications, which is so impressive. You can put all your links here, which is also great for, we're total SEO geeks. This is really good for SEO. And then again, this real events section, and your videos. Oh my God. So you must have added some videos, Guerdy, because this is incredible. You have 28 videos. That might be a record for us. I think on average we have 5 or 6. So these
I got bored one day and I just started uploading.
I'm so proud of you for doing that yourself. So you, you have all the amazing photos, but the videos are really showing your work in action. And so I'm so impressed to see that. And again, on the event side, if you dig into one of the profile pages, again, we talk about PartySlate as a brand storytelling vehicle. So you can have a beautiful description right here that can be SEO optimized, talking about your event. And then you show kind of the beginning of the event to the end of the event. And of course, we always want to feature all your amazing event partners. So you did a really good job. And I know our team's been working with you on optimizing this as well.
Absolutely. It's been incredible.
So going back to the presentation, that's a little bragging on your brand, which is amazing. I also wanted to share what we have committed to doing around Black Lives Matters. I mentioned we started a diversity, equity, and inclusion committee. And again, if you have a small company of 5, you know, everyone's going to be involved. So I think it's really important that the whole company is involved. We have 35 people now, so we have a committee of 8 that are really driving the ball forward, but everyone's going to be included. We have committed to featuring more Black-owned businesses, and that starts with our recruiting process on getting more of the free profiles, recruiting them into our premium membership. Again, we started our campaign with this post of your beautiful image for one of the weddings you, I don't know when that wedding was, but it's stunning. And we had like 80 or 90 people introduce us to new Black-owned businesses that we're going to be working on creating profile pages for. We're also continue to have more important conversations like this on, you know, what could we be doing? How could we be doing more? What, you know, what else can we do as an industry, you know, leader as far as digital marketing to help? And then we, again, are committed to partnering with Black-owned businesses when we launch into new cities, which we have in the past, we want to continue to do. And then we want to have this environment where we have open dialogue. And our kickoff to our DEI meeting, there was some awkward conversations. You know, like, you know, we're creating a list of Black-owned businesses, and I'm like, is that right to do? Is it wrong to do? And we asked people in our community, and we are doing that. And I think it's okay to have awkward conversations because we want to get better. And I think we can't be afraid to be on eggshells and afraid to fail, as long as if we make mistakes, we admit we make mistakes and we fix it. And
Sure.
so that's something that I can't tell you how important it is to us. So I don't know, Guerdy, if you have any.
Well, I mean, for me, for example, I have always led my work with merit, right? So I want to make sure, and I'll tell you a little story. Before Instagram, before all this, pictures online of oneself, I remember the days when I used to work at Fisher Island, and I used to have these conversations with my clients that booked right off the phone conversation. So we had these bookings, and then it's like, okay, I'm going to do my site visit next month. Next month, they come out of their Maserati or whatever, and they'll say, oh, you're Guerdy? Oh my goodness, wow. So with that alone, it just kind of, and I'm very naive in the sense of like, well, what do you, yeah, I am Guerdy. I'm the person you'd be talking to all this. But it's something that was alerting to me and made me realize that, oh, okay, so there's there's another side to this whole process. But I took it and turned it into a challenge, and I said to myself, well, the good thing is that my work was able to speak for itself prior to even them meeting me. And of course, there was never an issue about my color while doing business, etc. But just that comment alone made me understand that sometimes it could have been maybe a criteria that they never kind of had in mind when they picked their quote unquote planner. So I find myself being this model, quote unquote, in the world of breaking those stereotypical norm, because as you can see, most of my weddings are not of people of my color, only because of the type of business that I was doing on Fisher Island from the beginning. So the people who live there and who are members there are typically white, Jewish, and international from Europe, etc. So I never saw that as an issue or a roadblocker in a sense. And I just did the work and let it speak for itself. And there was never anything else to talk about.
And I think that our focus is we want the best event professionals, but we want to make sure that there isn't any unconscious bias or systematic, like we're leaving people out. And so I think there's that balance of we want the best, but we also want to make sure that we're proactively reaching the right pockets of people and asking for referrals.
Yeah, because it's easy to be complacent. And I had a conversation with amazing people in this industry, and I actually hired a public relations company maybe a year ago. Okay, so this is how dedicated I am to my craft. And I said to myself, I belong in these circles. I belong with I should get these accolades, etc. What is it that I'm doing wrong? Is it something else? So I started really kind of attending all the right events, and I even had a public relations person representing me and sending out my EPK, which is my media kit, so to speak, with all the clippings of all the interviews and so forth that I had in publishings. And it's funny because now it's the time that I'm kind of getting all these phone calls and and I don't know, timing is interesting, obviously, but I think that I'm going to use those platforms because I think I was always deserving of those opportunities. But I think that the complacency may have been there, where it was kind of like, okay, well, top, whatever, 20, these are people I've done business with, I know them, let me just kind of put this list out every year. But now is our chance to really do the work and to really go out of our norm and find the new norm. So you have to go out there and be inclusive and pull out the different lenses, so to speak, so you have a full-bodied bottle of wine.
I love that. And I just think that I am excited after going to, with my family and I have 3 teenage kids. I found old when I say that, going to some of these protests and just opening ourselves up. I'll be honest, I haven't been to protests before. I'm very involved with the community and I haven't. And it's been very eye-opening for me. And it's just, I'm glad to see, even though it's a very, time of unrest and that so many people that have not been aware of this systemic issues are getting involved and are making a change. And so for us, the social media post is great, but really it's about the action that we're doing behind the scenes and the changes we're making to our processes and our hiring. That is the most important thing. So I just think it's a really important conversation to have. And again, Black Lives Matter is so important and we're very focused on it right now. But since the beginning of PartySlate, one thing I love about this industry, I come from the tech industry where I'll be honest, it's a lot of white dudes with hoodies. Like that's just where, the tech world is. Like I'm in a room, a tech conference and there's like 3 women in line for the bathroom. And then there's like 20,000 in the men's, like that's what the industry I came from. So to see so much diversity and so many women-owned businesses, different ethnicities, and of course LGBTQ, that's been really important for us from day one. And I'm also a fan of Jove, and I've heard him present many times. But just being aware of not saying the bridal room and not saying bride and groom and not all these different things, and also just being very aware of different ethnicities and types of weddings and corporate events and everything is just, again, been important to us from day one. But I want to make sure I state that doesn't come just like, oh, it will come together. It is a conscious effort to make sure we're being inclusive.
I want to break in on that note. So I have a brand question that I think both of you maybe could answer. And the question is, how can my personal brand translate into my company brand if I grow to have multiple people on the team? Yes. When you start your company, it's just you, it's easy.
I could have paid that person to ask that question because it goes right into our next section about personal branding. And so we're going to talk about that right now. So your personal brand, I'm going to define it first, and then I'm going to talk to Guerdy about her personal brand, is really how you...
I can't see anybody. I'm literally looking at a black screen. So I'm trying to...
So wait, so to make sure you can see us, maybe how do we get you back in so you can see us?
Can tell Marley to text me the Zoom thing, and then I'll click
on
you're
in the Zoom, so I think what you need to do, I'm helping you, I know Bob couldn't see either, is click back on Zoom, or maybe I'll stop sharing my screen. And then
there we go, I'm back.
I'm going to go back here, so now you can see us, right?
Yes.
Okay, now I'm going to share my screen, and hopefully we don't lose where you are. Okay, sorry guys.
I'm here, okay.
Can you see us?
I can see you.
Okay, good, yay. Bob, can you see us? I know Bob's always asking questions. And I love Bob Conte.
Oh, Bob! Oh my gosh! Hi!
Okay.
I love him.
Guerdy, can you see the chat? Because there's a lot of people calling out to you that love you.
Clearly now. Oh, sorry.
Yeah, of course. So as far as the personal brand, I always say, again, if you're a company of one, it's so interlinked, your brand and your company. But the thing about your personal brand is it's really how you're positioning yourself as an authority, and it really how you differentiate yourself from other people. So you could be positioned as an amazing destination planner, but you have something you could be a dog lover. Again, there's a bunch of things that you could use to differentiate yourself. So I just thought I'd share like how I think about my personal brand. One, I think most people know I love digital education. And because I've been doing digital for some of the biggest brands before PartySlate in the world for 20 years, I love to share digital education. And I think by paying it forward and providing this free digital education, I feel like it comes back to us. And so we build a stronger PartySlate brand. But that's my personal passion. I'm also a female tech founder. And I know there's a lot of amazing female founders of companies in our industry, but as far as the technology world, only 3% of venture capital in the country goes to women-run technology companies. So I'm definitely in the minority for a venture-backed business, and I'm connecting with amazing female founders, tech companies across the country, and I am on committees of women tech founders, and that's another thing that I'm really passionate about. And then also, again, I have a lot of my friendors on the call. I love being an event industry connector. I love this industry more than any industry I've ever worked in. And I love to speak, and I love to connect people both through PartySlate, but also through my personal network. So those are kind of my three kind of expertise bubbles, so to speak. And really what you want to think about when you're talking about your personal brand is like, what do you care about personally? Yes, it's your company, but is there something unique about you? Like my passion for digital education isn't necessarily PartySlate. Of course, PartySlate is a digital marketing platform, but that's a personal thing. You know, who do you want to connect with? What content? You don't have to I don't write a ton of blogs, thank God for Pamela and her team, but I curate a lot of content. And so you can be just a curator of content. And so you want to think about what those areas are. And so Guerdy, I'd love to know from your perspective, you have a very strong presence and a strong brand.
It's important to answer this question. I saw her pop up again on the chat. So I think I'm a pretty good example of that, because I do have people that work with me, but they're very low key in the sense where we don't have to take every picture as a group. You know what I mean? Because I think I've led the brand to the point where it is now. And it has been a component of what the brand is. So I am my brand. And that's something that Kubi Springer, there's an amazing book called I Am My Brand, and how to build your brand without apology. And I think for me in the past, I used to kind of feel like, you know, oh, let me just always smile, and let me try to be as nice as I can, and try to overproduce when I really felt like I didn't have to. I should not apologize for who I am, and come into this room and feel like I have to, you know, like tap dance in a sense, you know what I mean? So I've come into a place of comfort with my brand. People who come to me know exactly what they're going to get. I think that it's already very visible, so that when they do come to my you know, and call me, for example, we already have a leveled, you know, connectivity point. So I think that you need to, there's a couple things for me. I rather post right than post live, for example. So for me, when I look at, for example, some live posting and they're IG living their event or whatever it is, and it's like the screen is blurry, you don't know what's going on, there's drunk people everywhere, is that your brand? So you have to, for example, lead by example in a sense. It's like you're leading a class and you want the class to follow you. So your class is your client, for example. So what is it that you want your client to know about you, to see about you, to understand about you? Mm-hmm. So for you to really kind of make sure that whatever you associate yourself with and you put out has this class to it that's reflective of you, because the people like to do business with people they like. Yes. That is something that I've learned a long time ago in fundraising. I have used that one sentence in every decision, everything as far as what I do, because if they trust you, if they like you, they're going to give you the wedding, you know, and they're going to know it's going to be incredible. And what is she going to do to top it, you know, to whatever, you know, vision. So that's one thing, lead by example, and just know that whatever you do is reflective of you. So think twice before you start posting, you know, live.
Yeah. Yeah, and I think you can decide that if part of your brand is I'm always at every industry event and I want to make sure people know I'm a connector, I'm here, that's great. Or you might want to be, hey, you're positioning yourself as more exclusive and more selective. So really being intentional about those choices, I think, are really important. And
exclusive to be not inclusive either. So, you know, there's a fine line there as well, because I feel like a lot of people want to brand themselves as, you know, bespoke and I'm exclusive. But what does exclusive mean when you actually break it down, you know? So, and it's okay to say, this is my brand and these are the type of people I want to do business with. That's just fine. But be clear about that, I guess, right? Yeah. So that people who approach you are like people. So if you are that kind of person, and I think that what's happening is that a lot of people right now, especially with the Black Lives Matter and what happens, I got calls from a couple Black vendors, and their struggle is the fact that they're trying to figure out how to break into a more diverse market. So they're, for example, stuck, and not stuck in a bad way. It's just that they want to diversify and they want to show more range by, I do Indian weddings too. I know what a you know, mandap is. I can do a Jewish wedding. I know what a chuppah is, not just one note, you know, type of event. And that's a lot of the industry struggle, that they're not given that opportunity to shine. Yes. So put out the product that you want to do an editorial shoot, do something where you're able to put out the product that you want to end up doing, so that at least you have exemplary, you know, options for people to look at, and not just that one note that you're putting out every weekend.
Absolutely. And I think when we talk about digital, which is next, you can talk about creating content that helps draw the right people to you, right, that you want to attract. And to do that, it has to be, again, an intentional brand strategy. And I don't care, again, I don't want to overwhelm people with like homework assignments, but even 3 or 4 slides in a deck. And I'm happy to, I love doing brand strategy to help with that document that mission and vision and values and what your target audience is. It really can help shape the content you create and how you position yourself. Again, now more than
start deleting all those posts that really are not relative to your brand. Seriously, yes. Cooking in the kitchen is great, but then create a personal profile for that.
Yes, absolutely.
Like have a separation of, you know, of messaging, for example.
Absolutely, I think that's great. And when I talk about digital, it's all tied together. So it's not like your digital brand is separate from your regular brand. It's just how your brand manifests and appears in the digital space. And so
Julie, Julie, okay. I want to interrupt you real quick because we have a question about mission statements. So before we get into how to express that to the world, do you guys have advice, or the mission statements for your company? Are they one sentence? Are they more? You know, how succinct should those be?
Your mission statement should not be a run-on sentence. I'm sorry. You know, you got to be very clear. My mission statement is planning perfect parties worldwide with a boundless creative approach. That's
Love it.
People ask me, what do you do? I was born to do it. That's it. So I know what it takes to produce. Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Yes. And I think for PartySlate, I shared our mission statement before, but again, one sentence, very direct. We've chosen a mission tied to our consumers, helping them plan these inspirational parties, really being there and creating meaningful and memorable experiences. And we chose that because we think it's easier for people to digest how PartySlate helps the end consumer or the people that have a checkbook to write to event professionals. But on our vision side, our vision is we want to be the single best way for our community share their work, build their brand, tell their story, connect with their network in the digital space. So it's really a two-sided story, and we tell both of it. But your mission should be really easy to say. It should be fluid. It should feel right. It shouldn't feel forced. And I really have not seen many mission statements more than one or two sentences. In some cases, I've seen two. Mm-hmm. That's a good question.
Yeah.
Any others, Pamela?
There was one about, let me see, rebranding, but I think, are we going to get to rebranding?
We are. Yeah.
We're going to talk about that in our action plan because Guerdy's going to share her exciting rebranding. Yay. So digital branding, again, when we send the follow-up to this webinar, I can share a recording because I did a whole session on this, but digital branding, it may take up to 7 touch points. Let's say word of mouth is always going to be 1, 2, and 3. There's no question. Word of mouth, Fisher Island, word of mouth. But here's the fact, and this is true because you do it yourself. Once you get the name of someone, what do you start doing? I call it stalking, or you call it research. So when I'm meeting with a venture capitalist, like, oh, you should talk to Sequoia. The first thing I'm going to do is stalk Sequoia, figure out the right venture capital partner, go to their Instagram, start doing my research. And so it may take up to 7 touch points before they reach out to you. And again, this is even just word of mouth referral. And so all of your digital touch points, you look at your footprints, your website, it's your SEO efforts, it's your third-party platforms like PartySlate and others. It's your network that you're building through LinkedIn and Instagram. So all these things create kind of your digital brand. And so the areas that I always say to focus on is your website is your landing page, right? Many people link out to their PartySlate profile for a full view of their portfolio, but your website has to have the simplest of handshakes, meaning when you get to the homepage, you know exactly what you do, who you are, and many amazing leading event professionals, they don't have a simple handshake. And so I'm like researching, I'm like, what do they do? I cannot even figure it out. So that is something that's really important. Simple navigation, an easy way to view your photos and videos. Again, we looked at Guerdy's profile page. It's stunning. That's another way you can link out to that. Introduce the team. What is your story? When I meet people, I'm always very curious. I like to know people's story, their background, like the story of Fisher Island. I could picture that and like moving.
I haven't done a good job at that. So that's where the last part of our discussion will be about, actively branding and the actions for that, because I need to do better at that.
Yeah. Sure. And again, this is all aspirational. And even if you're doing 8 of the 10 things, it's not too late to add a section like the story of your company, like not just, I do weddings, corporate events. It's like, I started off in Fisher Island. I bought this amazing, floral shop. I learned the business. I got my hands dirty. Again, I'm making this up, but telling the story of how you got to be who you are. People really lean in. They want to hear that. And then of course, positioning yourself as an authority. And you got published in a PartySlate article, you were on TV, you were in Vogue. Those are the things that, people do care about that stuff. So in addition to your website, I won't go off on SEO because that could be like a 2-hour conversation. Social media, your digital network, and of course, third-party platforms. And Guerdy, before I go into a little bit about PartySlate, is there anything you wanted to add as far as your digital footprint? Because I know you're working on your new branding and your website, but your Instagram is incredible. Your PartySlate.
I lead by right now. I'm leading mostly by my Instagram and third party, which is PartySlate, for example.
Yes.
Because most people are going to go to social media first.
Yes.
I'm not a Twitter person. I don't tweet. And my Facebook, to be honest, is also lacking as well, because I feel like Instagram is really where it's at. So if I stop them, so you mentioned the 7 steps of, the 7 touch points, I try to stop them at step 1. Because the Instagram is going to have all my beautiful little circles. And yes, I've done a wedding in Portugal. Yes, I've done a wedding in here, and etc. So that they can kind of use that as their reference. And I even have a client's story, icon where you can click on that and you can start seeing me with my clients. So just again, that reinforcement of the idea from that word of mouth referral, that the person says, oh my gosh, she's amazing. Don't do anything without Guerdy. When they look at my Instagram, I want every picture, everything they see to say, I can't live without this person. I got to call her. Let me see what she's about. And the intrigue factor, where I think I catch the lead, and then it's for me to back it up with the technical stuff,
And amazing. And if they already have your name, they're referred to you, they can go right there. If they don't have your name and they're Googling leading planner, destination planners for Miami or Fisher Island or whatever, you want to make sure you have all of those SEO keywords optimized. And so on your PartySlate profile, we can work with you, or you can yourself add those keywords and make sure when 95% of people start in Google, yes, social media is important, but if they don't know who you are yet, a discovery vehicle always starts in Google.
So then here comes the other part of this whole thing, which we won't get into so much, but then is where, the brand has been so curated into this particular vision, particular clientele. And so you've already vetted a lot of the type of clients that you don't want, right? Yes. So when they're looking at you, they already see optic wise, okay, this person's this type of planner. She does this kind of level of event. Because if I spend my days answering the phone on this SEO inquiry every 3 minutes, I won't be working. So that's the good thing, is that, we have a very high booking rate of if you talk to people, opportunity to bid, it's gonna probably, happen, because of the fact that it's already been vetted on its own by the evolution of
we always say that images really help you qualify.
Dress how you want to be addressed. And I don't mean dress by literal clothing, but project what you want to get back.
Yes, absolutely.
Absolutely. Yeah.
And I think, the profile page, this is an example of, I think, the Four Seasons, Beverly Hills. In many cases, the profile page on PartySlate, we call it a portfolio sharing tool, can be better than your website. So while you're redesigning your website, or while it's not out of date, you can use Instagram, but PartySlate's really a double click on Instagram. So instead of just seeing one photo, our research has shown people like to see the flow from beginning of the night to the end. They want to see the credits. They want to see what venues you've worked with. So it's our profile page, and we're always adding new things to it, is really designed to tell your brand story and celebrate your work. Both, and again, I love your videos, Guerdy. Your photos and your videos are incredible. And then the last thing we'll do is
that's a full-time job, literally.
It is, yeah. And that's why, we have our customer success team can help you, but we've tried to make it so easy, like my mom could post to it, just make it really super easy.
Right.
And then the last thing I'll say on branding is you want to position your brand at the critical moments when people are looking for inspiration. So yes, Pinterest is we drive a lot of traffic from Pinterest to PartySlate, but our event galleries and real events, when they're looking for corporate ideas or bar mitzvahs or destination events, this is where we want to elevate your brand and get them while they're still looking.
I'm on black screen right now, by the way.
Okay, wait, if you're on black screen, I'm going to stop sharing. Can you see me now?
I can see you now.
Now I'm going to share again. Okay. Let's just hope that it goes back to that page.
There we go, it is. Mm-hmm.
Okay, good. And then the final thing I'll say on the network effect. So Guerdy, you have such an amazing group of venues you've worked with, of decor companies you've worked with. And what we try to do is everyone you credit, or anyone that credits you, will show up as a resource as part of your network on your profile page. And that's something that we just added. And again, we can see people, we have something called Hotjar. We can watch people go through PartySlate, and they do click on it. They like to see who you've worked with and the venues that you're connecting yourself to. So now we're going to talk about your brand strategy action plan, unless Pamela, there's any questions from the group.
No, we're good. I have a question about rebranding.
Okay.
I want to hear
We're going to talk about that now. So again, I have 4 steps to really creating this strong, inclusive brand. And we're going to send you this deck if you would like it, but also a resource guide to get you started. Number 1, document your brand strategy. So what does your company stand for? really who are your target audiences and your personality. Again, are you a funny brand? Are you a serious brand? Are you a fashionable brand? What are you? With your inclusivity planning, really define what inclusivity means at your company. It's really important to define the different elements of inclusivity and what's important to you. And then really conduct an audit to identify gaps. And it could be gaps in your team. And again, not many people are hiring right now, so it's not something that you can impact right this second, but you could say, hey, the next role that we're opening, I'm going to target, trying to get someone from a different background than I have. And then also just commit to some short-term initiatives like we've done, but then really work with your committee. Again, if it's a small company, work with your, or, even if you're just a one-person company, I know you guys are so connected. You have people that advise you. Work with your advisors to come up with a longer-term plan on what you can do. And I think that inclusivity planning is like, it's not just a nice to have. And I know everyone agrees, like, you must do this to really see a lot of success. It's really important. And then your personal brand, Guerdy, we talked about like those bubbles or those expertise areas. What are they for you? It could be just one area. It could be, I had 3, it could be 2. Again, I always look at you at these events, Guerdy, and you're so fashionable and like people are drawn to you. That could be, you're passionate about fashion. Like, what are those things that really make up your personal brand?
It's funny because I think that, who you are is an extension of your brand. And I think that for me, the creative process of just dressing, of the way, it's all part of it, because the way I would choose an outfit for me is the way I would kind of like style an event. So, and I don't do it purposely. It's just the way, I've always been this way, but I think that it's become something that I realize it's an asset to my brand. Because, when people keep saying, oh my gosh, wow, what are you going to wear this time? And I'm like, oh, no, but I'm realizing that it's becoming literally a component of it. So am I an influencer? I don't think so. But, I think that it definitely plays into the whole vision.
Yes. We think you're an influencer. You have a big following and, you're building a brand. So I think that's important. I think, we're excited to see many event professionals go on to build lifestyle brands from their business. So we're doing some fun things with David Tutera and Mindy Weiss and many others that have really scaled their brand beyond just the events world. And I think it starts with creating a very strong personal brand. So I think that you're doing a great job.
Thank you.
And then the next thing is, really obviously for your personal brand is to reinforce that brand, not just when you go to networking events, because look, we can't go to networking events right this second. We know how important they are. So that means it needs to be in the digital space, whether it's the Zooms you're doing or whether it's Instagram or, I love LinkedIn, even though Instagram's number 1, LinkedIn, don't underestimate the importance of your LinkedIn network. How important that is.
Maybe about that later.
Okay, well, I'll help you with that. And then as far as your digital brand, if you can remember one thing, it's like, what is that strong handshake? What are you saying within the first 2 minutes or 2 seconds even of them seeing your website? What is that handshake? And then, prioritize, again, 1 to 2 social media channels. It can be all about Instagram. The only thing I will say is, and that's our number 1 channel, is, they change their algorithm or something happens like Facebook did 10 years ago. You just have to be careful not to put all your eggs in one basket, just something to think about. And then, again, we're a third-party platform. You can't do 20 third-party platforms, but think about 1 or 2 third-party platforms that you're going to invest some time, potentially money, to get more exposure and to build your brand. And again, think about
20 plus videos.
Yeah, and add 20 videos, exactly. So let's talk a little, Guerdy, about your brand and the rebranding effort you're going through, and what are the steps, and tell us about your journey and how you approached it.
Yeah. So the reason why I'm rebranding is because I feel like the name no longer suits the service anymore. So before we were Ocean Flowers and Events, and I only took Ocean Flowers because that was the name of the previous shop, and that shop was on the island for 25 years before I bought it. So I had to kind of have continuity in that. So that was the only reason why I kept that name. It wasn't my original name branding. So then now came the time where I'm evolving. So now I'm focusing on the front of the house, where I'm doing more destination weddings. And so I want to still design my events, because I think that that's the special touch that is reflective of my brand. But because I don't produce them, so to speak, I want to now focus on the design element. So now focusing the name on just Guerdy design versus ocean flowers and events, I think is where my lane is now. And so I think I sent you guys a teaser of the logo that we just kind of drafted. It's a very in the beginning phase, but it's going to be something really beautiful. And I think it really speaks to bold, timeless, classic with a twist type of vibe that I'm going for.
Great.
So we're doing that.
And Pamela, what was the question specifically about rebranding? Because I've done many rebranding, and I think one suggestion I'd give is before you think about the design, I know, Guerdy, you've had some very thoughtful of, you went from kind of Miami to Miami, New York to Miami, New York, and destination, thinking through what you want your business to be in 3 to 5 years. And then only after you have all of that documented, you can start thinking about logo and your channels and redesigning. The good thing about PartySlate, we've worked with so many clients on rebranding, is your website might take 3 or 4 months, but we can really rebrand how we talk about your company, add your new logo, shift your events around. Within a matter of days, you can kind of rebrand on PartySlate.
Yeah.
Yeah, so in terms of rebranding, Guerdy, I love your story about why you did, and it makes sense. What are some other reasons that you would consider a rebrand? How do you know when it's a good time to rebrand?
You know by the results. So for example, if you're not booking the type of client of business that you want, then you're not branded properly, right? So, you have to figure out what is it that you're doing wrong. Is it on your social media? Is it on the way that you sell? Because, after you're done branding, right? So the person's now all into you, you have this captive audience and you can't close a sale. That's a problem. So are you the right, salesperson or spokesperson for your company? So sometimes you may be the owner of it, but maybe someone else can collaborate and be perfect for it. Yesterday, I got a call from a bride. She's in LA. She calls me. I'm in Miami, and she says, oh my gosh, you did Something Navy's wedding, and I trust her judgment. Something Navy's an amazing fashion blogger. She's an incredible, almost 2 million followers. And she says to me, I want to hire you because you did her wedding. And I was like, okay, sphere of influence, right? So we're talking the same language. And then, she says, I'm Chinese. A lot of people are coming from China, And then, and this is in 2022, so post-COVID. But I said, oh my God, my assistant, my right hand, she's from China. Where are you from? And so we started, having this dialogue, and I put my assistant on the line, and, it just became this connective force. So sometimes, like I did yesterday, it would be, helpful to have someone to reinforce that sales effort. Yes. To get the closing, because maybe I'm cute and I did Something Navy's wedding, but was it good enough? Was she talking to another planner who had an upper hand in, affiliating better with her family? So I thought to myself, extending it to not just her, but her family and her needs from people coming from China. My assistant's Chinese, she's amazing. You have to talk to her, and we bring that second helper to help you solidify. So you have to first identify what the issues are, and then once you know what they are, what is it that you can do to make it better? You may have to hire someone who's a professional marketing guru to help you say, oh God, this is the worst, logo ever. It's tacky and you're classy, so something's not connecting. So find the connected pieces. It's like a link. Okay, so we have to link all the.
I think when you think about your brand and when you want to rebrand, if you're picturing yourself again 5 years down the road, and you really think of that type of client and what you want your brand to feel like, if there's a huge disconnect between where you are now, you may want to consider, again, a rebranding initiative. But if you think it's just a journey, rebranding is expensive. Rebranding has a lot of cons to it. So before you think about that expensive rebrand, and again, sometimes it's easier. At PartySlate, it's easy to do, but a website redesign is more difficult. You really want to think through, can you evolve your current brand to get there? Or do you really need to think of a new name and a new positioning?
Right, and auditing, I think, is also nice. Don't be afraid of the truth. So my logo that I sent to you guys this morning, I sent it to Erica from Tinsel. I sent it to Bob. No, not Bob. Actually, I meant to send it to you, by the way. But Steve from Alpine. I sent it to so many people. Natalie from Lux, Fallon Carter. I was like, guys, what do you think? Is this me? They're like, option 2, not 1. And I'm like, oh, unanimous vote. So we're on. And Alan, also my good friend. So we have, you're bringing people who will tell you the truth.
I always say have a personal board of directors that are really honest. Like when I do these website reviews, I'm very honest with people. And I'm like, listen, this is how it's feeling to me. I know you, is there a disconnect here? And so I think you want those honest people that are going to tell you like it is. And maybe it's 3 or 4 people that give you different perspectives. And then you need to kind of filter it and then make that decision. But rebranding is expensive, so you really need to think about it. In your case, it makes a lot of sense why you're doing it. And
service changed. It's like the word flowers no longer applies. And I've been trying to pull away from that. No, we don't do flowers anymore. And then I'm like, let's just freaking rebrand already. You know, it's like, it's time. And the perfect timing too, because right now everyone's like home and doing, you know, kind of nothing. So now is the time to kind of tease it. And then I'm going to go, you know, go full force. It's going to be fun.
Yeah. And I always say like, now is the time to work, you know, on your business versus being in your business. And I feel for people that are hurting right now. Right. I know it's slowly opening back up, and I'm feeling optimistic that, you know, the next 12 to 18 months, we're going to get back there. It's just going to be a journey to get there. So every week we have made a commitment to doing these digital workshops and helping people and talking about important topics. This one is so important to me about building an inclusive brand. We're going to send you the sample brand guide. It's like a table of contents. We have some great articles you can review. I will always offer doing these website or Instagram reviews. I will tell you like it is. My team has been trained to do these. And then our next digital event, we are doing kind of Instagram 2.0, the ultimate guide to Instagram marketing. So we're really excited about that. Again, Guerdy, we love your Instagram feed. Like, so we can tell you've been working on that. It's amazing. And your profile page. And then we have about 3 or 4 more minutes. Are there any last questions, Pamela, that we didn't get to? You're on mute. I can't hear you, Pamela. Oh, there we go.
Yes. Oh, no.
You're still on mute. Anyway, I don't think, no questions, she's on mute.
Well, yeah, I mean, I think, again, bringing it
now.
Yeah, we can hear you. Go ahead.
Okay, because I got a message that Zoom was having trouble with my audio earlier. Okay. No, I don't have any other questions. You guys did a really great cohesive job in covering all these topics. But, you know, if there are questions that people have, if they want to email them over later, that's something we can look at doing.
But to bring it full circle, I think that, again, you know, if this is about inclusive, you know, branding and inclusive marketing, et cetera, you know, for those of us, you know, in the industry who haven't done that, and only because, you know, time is of essence and you're just meeting your deadlines and you're going about your day, just stop for a second and say, what can I do better? If you ask yourself that at least once a week, you know, and say, who can I pull up? You know what I mean? Because I'm in a position right now where I feel like I am, you know, doing very well. But if I can help to pull up someone else who has the potential and who just doesn't have the know-how, et cetera, we have to really help each other because, you know, we're definitely better together, and, you know, we have to do better.
And I always say things that don't get written down, you know, don't get done. And so creating these simple plans, including
this is all I do all day.
Yeah. And it can be, I like the old school notebooks, or you're writing in a Google Doc or whatever it is. Write down what your plans are for your brand. And again, I will send this out as a follow-up, and use your board of directors, your personal board of directors, to review it and walk through it and be intentional, not only about your brand strategy, but what you're going to be doing for your inclusivity planning, diversity planning, your personal brand, again, very connected in the world we live in with your company brand. But I do think you can pick your 2 or 3 areas to really lean in and create content around, or again, curate content if you're not a big writer. And then your digital brand, again, I know you guys know this, but I love Vogue, you know, print magazine, but the print advertising revenue has gone down like 95% in the last 5 years, and digital is going up. And so, you know, even if you're doing free profile page on PartySlate, your free Instagram, you're not even doing boosting, you've got to take your digital brand very, very seriously, because people start with Google, they start with Instagram, and they're going to find you. They're going to find your different touch points. So you need to have a strong brand. Yeah. Well, I think we are out of time. Guerdy, thank you so much. And thank you for reaching out to us very early on in New York, our PartySlate journey. We've been following you and working with you for it's been 18 months, and we're big fans. And thank you for sharing your insights and learnings. And again, people can email me directly, Julie@partyslate.com. Guerdy, what is your email address?
My email address is guerdydesign guerdy@gmail.com. And my Instagram is Guerdy Design, GUERDYDESIGN.
Perfect. And we'll send that in the follow-up email as well. So thank you, everyone. Pamela, thank you for moderating. It's so hard for me to track questions and look at the screen at the same time. So thank you. And we will be, also wanted to promote really quickly, Thursday digital event on really the new trend with hybrid events, meaning small group in person and a virtual component. And we're going to be doing that with Kehoe Designs in Chicago and actually going to their studio, which is very exciting. I'll actually see real people. And we're going to be talking all about the trends in virtual/hybrid events.
Sounds like fun. I'll be there.
Okay, good. Thanks, everyone. Have a good day.
Bye.
Thank you.